Hi everybody, how you doing? I'm still want to discuss this. I found this the other day, and this is interesting. I did a video immediately, didn't I, once Navalny had died, and the Western media was so quick to blame it on Putin. Well, we know now why, because it makes perfect sense that they are trying to put undue pressure on Congress once they come back from their holiday. They're trying to put the pressure on, is it the House of Representatives that have yet to vote on the Ukraine aid package. Now, it's increasingly looking more like Western involvement. Now, you want to listen to what this man has to say in a minute. I think he's called Gill, and I think he was a former advisor to the Clinton administration, although the Clinton name is a bit of a dirty word for a lot of people, conspiracy theorists and what have you, or just maybe truth seekers. The Clinton name is synonymous with distrust. But what Gill says was virtually the same as what I said in that first video that I put out immediately when I found out that he'd been killed. I still believe it was a Western hit, and I believe that if the mainstream media is saying that there were Russian spies that turned up a couple of days before, are they Russian spies? I mean, we can all cloak ourselves, make ourselves look different if we need to. They're so keen to blame this on Putin because they're so keen to keep the war going. I'll play it for you. You make your mind up in a minute. To set the scene, these are the two on the GM. Is it GMB News or something like that? Yeah, I don't always listen to this, but this one just took my attention when it came through. So they'll set the scene and then Gill will start to talk. And we'll discuss it in a minute.
Now, human rights campaigners have claimed officers from Russia's intelligence service went to the prison where Alexei Navalny was held just 2 days before his death.
The 47-year-old, most high-profile Putin critic died suddenly on Friday. In the days following, Navalny's mother has been unable to recover his body.
Well, hundreds of people across Russia have been detained and blocked from laying flowers at memorial events.
Joining us now is former advisor to the Clinton and Bush administrations, Steve Gill.
Yeah, Steve Gill. I seem to recall his face from somewhere in the past. Yes, he's had involvement with the Clinton administration. But should that mean that we dispel him? Well, no, because what he says makes perfect sense. Perfect logic. Russia does not gain from this, but the West does. Let him speak.
Good morning to you. Thanks for talking to us. What do you think the West's options are in terms of taking action against Putin? We keep hearing about more sanctions, but what difference are more sanctions really going to make here?
Well, it's certainly unfortunate for Mr. Navalny and his family that this death occurred, but it's also unfortunate, I think, for Putin and perhaps for the world if there was going to be a path to peace at this particular time in the Ukraine.
That was a good point, wasn't it? If there was going to be a path to peace. But who doesn't want peace? Who scooped the peace deal? The UK. They sent Boris. NATO and the United States. They sent Boris to scoop the peace deal because they don't want peace. Can you see how this is all stacking up now to look like Western hypocrisy at the most highest level? Now, I've always said this, but when we get towards this punch-out period, the close-out period, towards this end of this system, they're going to make a lot of mistakes. And it is going to be so obvious to all you that are out there seeking the truth. And what he says next makes sense.
Ukraine conflict, it actually doesn't make any sense that Putin would have directly caused the death of Navalny. I mean, after all, he was in a Siberian prison. He was off the political stage. He was probably less relevant than he has been in years, this certainly brings him back to the forefront and raises the speculation of what happened and why. So I think the timing, certainly for Putin, is bad. It's also ironic that it comes when America and the UK and others are desperate to get more funding for Ukraine, and this certainly may bolster the argument that Ukraine needs the additional need.
Didn't I say that in my video the other day? I noticed how a lot of people didn't send me any likes. That's fine, that's fine. But you need to start to look into this the way I have. And you'll soon realise that Alexei Navalny's life was probably one of sedition. Now, I don't know about you, but I always thought a seditionist was someone that was against the state, against the powers that were in at the time. So if you was a seditionist during the Roman Empire, you would lose your life. They would kill you for that. Now, in Alexei Navalny's case, they put him in a prison in Siberia, in the Gulag. These are terrible prisons. You know, not hotels by any means. But it makes sense what he says, because he says, well, he's out of the picture. And he's not even relevant. He's less relevant than he's ever been. So why would Putin give him all this publicity? Why would he do it? He wouldn't. That's just it, people. Putin didn't do it. It makes no sense that Russia did this. The only conclusion that you'll come to is that this only plays to the advantage of NATO and America, all of them. This puts them in the driving seat, and this reverses the Tucker Carlson interview. They weren't happy about that, how everybody suddenly saw Putin as different from what the Western media were painting him. But the Western media are making too many mistakes, far too many. And that's because they're getting desperate. I'll play more.
So 60 billion they're seeking from the U.S. So I think the timing is interesting, and it's hard to really ascribe that Putin at this particular time would have caused this to happen.
Yeah, listen to this response now. Now, are these the Freemason press now trying to protect BlackRock? Are they trying to prop up what they know is a lie? But they attack him. Okay, it's not a severe attack that they launch on him, but they're very quick to say that he's going against the grain now. He's going against all popular thought. It's brilliant when you can go against popular thought. Because if it's your thought and you really give it some true evaluation, and the mainstream account doesn't make sense to you, but when you break it down the way he has, this is the only thing that makes sense. I hope you could come to this conclusion yourself, people.
Oh, Steve, you're going against just about every other commentator and Russia expert on this one, who say that one of the key messages here is that Putin isn't bothered about what the international community thinks about all of this and those timings or anything else. What he wants to do is send a message to those upstarts in Russia.
He's trying to say that Putin is not intelligent, but he is. Vladimir Putin is extremely intelligent. He's got more intelligence than probably half of Congress. I'm not just saying that. I think Congress make a lot of mistakes, very, very obvious and blatant mistakes, and that's because they like to push lies through. Now, Putin, he's not stupid. He wouldn't put Russia on the back foot. He wouldn't do it. He's got far too much up here to do that.
Don't mess with me.
Well, and that may be true, but certainly keeping this guy in a Siberian prison for the rest of his life was accomplishing that mission pretty effectively. Giving more impetus to another 60 billion in weapons going to Ukraine with this argument certainly doesn't help Putin's cause. And I just don't think he's stupid.
Yeah, let's stop it there. Can you see who's lying now? Can you see how your own government, your own mainstream media press are telling you barefaced lies? This does not add impetus, it does not add strength to Russia for them to do this. This weakens them. And the only ones who are going to benefit from a weakened Russia are the West. So they had motive. They have motive, don't they, to have Alexei Navalny dead. And their second motive is to get the military aid package passed over to Ukraine. And this is their motive, people. This is so obvious. This is why they've done it. And if they can blame it all on Putin, and they can force the mainstream media press that they own to tell barefaced lies, scripted lies. And this Gill, he figured it out.
He's a guy that's making decisions, and this may have just been unfortunate timing. It does, I think, give new cause, new momentum for those to argue that Ukraine needs another $60 billion, and may make it easier for the U.S. To do that. In terms of more sanctions or more reprisals against Putin and Russia, I think, as President Biden said the other day, that they've done a lot, and hundreds of thousands of Russian soldiers and others have paid the price with their lives. It's hard to see that a response on this will actually do more to stop Putin, if in fact this was an intentional murder of this guy.
Brilliant. What an evaluation. He's brave, isn't he? He's brave for coming out, because he's not being backed up by all the mainstream media now, is he? For that viewpoint. But that's an honest account of what happened. Now, what will they do now? Will they try and discredit him? Say he's a bumbling fool? Someone of yes, he hasn't got a clear thought in his head? Because anybody that speaks the truth, and if it's the truth that they don't want to hear, they have to malign you. They have to say some things about your character, destroy you. They just can't have the real truth being abounded. We have to be able to suppress it. But I'm telling you something now, right? The American empire is losing its grip. And it's going down. It is going to collapse. Because it's all reminiscent. What's happening now, okay, it's a much more technological world than what we had in the past. But it's still reminiscent of those that are in the seat of power are just telling one fabricated lie after another and just pushing lies. And that the average person now, he's just not buying it anymore. He's just saying, stop lying to me. You know, because it doesn't make sense. And to blame it on Putin doesn't make sense. But they still will. Because they think that you're stupid. They call you the vulgar, they call you the profane. And they don't have any respect for you. And so they will lie and lie. And what can you do about it? Well, you can't do nothing about it until they're removed. And they will be removed from a source of power on which they won't see coming. But this guy, yeah. Respects and kudos to him. Yeah, Gill. Brilliant. Loved it. I'll see you again, peeps.